My name's Angelo, and welcome to We Want Picks. We're giving away $1,000. But before I tell you about that, let's go ahead and talk about UFC Orlando. I'm going to break down the entire card, giving you my picks, my bets, and my predictions. And yes, we're giving away $1,000. And the only thing you need to do is be a subscriber. That's it. If you're a subscriber to the We Want Picks YouTube channel and the Picks Nation YouTube channel, and we hit 10,000 subscribers before January 1st, we're giving away $1,000. It's that simple. Be a subscriber to those two channels. Comment on the giveaway video. All these links are in the description, and you could get $1,000. We just got to get to that 10,000 subscriber mark, and I'm almost positive we'll get there. We're only 1,200 subscribers away. We have 3 good events coming up and a bunch of live streams. We'll get there. Make sure you subscribe. Make sure you comment, and you can win all of that money. Speaking of money, we're just giving it away. You would be up over 38 units if you were a premium member and you followed along. This is the last 3 events, and you'd be up 38 units. Jacob and I are crushing our bets. The premium member parlays are absolutely cashing. We're hitting the prize picks. We're hitting Knockout Kings. We're hitting Monkey Knife Fight. We're hitting everything that we could possibly do. Things are going well. Ride that train and become a premium member. Go to WeWantPicks.com. At the top, click Become a Member. It is only $10 a month. $2.50 a week. I just gave you 38 units over the last 3 weeks. If a unit was only $10, I just gave you more than 3 years of membership. WeWantPicks.com. Click Become a Member. You get the picks, the bets, the fantasy plays, the optimizer. You get more content than you'll even know what to do with for $10 a month. That's $2.50 a week at WeWantPicks.com. And before we jump in, make sure you go to WeWantPicks.com/bets. Sign up with any one of our betting partners, make a deposit, and we'll send you $50. If you use our link to make your account, we will pay you. It's just that simple. WeWantPicks.com/bets. Sign up, make a deposit. We'll send you $50. And opening up the card, we have Yazmin Jauregui taking on Istela Nunes. And Yazmin Jauregui is a powerful striker with a pretty promising career. She's got fantastic pressure, impressive combinations. She'll enter that pocket with kicks and then finish with overhands and uppercuts. If she smells blood, she's just going to throw everything at you and try to work that finish. And as impressive as her striking is, her grappling's pretty solid as well. She's got really nice body lock takedowns and then solid takedown defense that she'll use to end up on top. She's coming off a decision in her UFC debut where she defended all the takedowns and managed the striking. Istela Nunes is coming off back-to-back losses in the UFC, which was after a 3-year layoff because of a USADA suspension. She only has 9 MMA fights, but she has an enormous amount of kickboxing experience. She's very fast. She's got solid power and incredibly versatile striking style where she throws kicks from anywhere and she'll send them to your head, she'll send them to your legs, and she does it with impressive speed. She does have holes in her grappling that both Sam Hughes and Ariana Carnelozzi were able to exploit. Yazmin's almost a 4-1 favorite here, and that's absolute insanity. Like, she's a very good striker. She does have a promising career, but Istela is a professional kickboxer, and this fight likely ends up just being a kickboxing match. Even in her loss to Sam Hughes, Istela was lightning fast with great quick kicks and solid hands. She did well hitting Hughes and sort of like keeping her out of that wrestling range, but halfway through that second round, she gassed, and then she just got bullied. My overall point here is that, yes, Istela Nunes has 2 losses in the UFC, but she's very good, and those matchups were very different than this one. I'm going to pick Yazmin, but the only reason I'm picking Yazmin is because Istela gassed in that fight against Sam Hughes. If she's got full 3 rounds of cardio, I do expect her to just be the better overall striker, and it was probably a mostly striking matchup. But going with Yazmin here, if Istela shows up ready to go with cardio, with the pressure, with pace, she should absolutely win this fight. And then we got Marcelo Rojo taking on Francis Marshall. Francis Marshall's a heavy-handed grappler who comes forward. He's got power and speed, and he uses that to set up his sort of just traditional old-school wrestling takedowns and grappling. He's comfortable striking, but he's almost too comfortable, right? He's going to keep his hands low. He's going to throw out long jabs and hooks. When he shoots, they are well-timed. They're full of energy. He's a young guy in his career, and he's a little hit more than he should be, right? His face is getting touched up in these fights, in drag-him-out wars where he could just go to the wrestling and avoid that damage, but he doesn't. He really gets sucked into that. But he does do a nice job He'll bait you into those striking matches, and then he'll shoot the doubles, and he'll just blast right through you. So while I don't like how much he's hit, I do appreciate that he's got the wrestling to lean on, and he eventually goes to it. Marcelo Rojo is a pretty exciting fighter. He comes forward. He's got solid pressure, solid hands. His offensive wrestling can use some work, but his wrestling defense is actually pretty solid. He's got a take one to give one style, but unfortunately for him, it's more like take two to give one. He's got a wild negative striking differential of almost 5 to 7. Being hit with seven significant strikes per minute on average is not good. This dude takes legitimate damage. He's 0-2 in the UFC, but he is better than his record. His loss to Charles Jourdain doesn't tell the whole story if you're just looking at it on Tapology. He was winning that fight. It was a short notice fight. He was winning, but then he gassed and he was stopped in the third. And this is a tricky fight. And I'm telling you right now, you probably should not bet here. A lot of you are going to see the odds, see Marcelo, oh, Rojo's 0-2 in the UFC, and then just throw Francis Marshall in a parlay. Do not do that. Do not do that, because Marcelo Rojo is an absolute dog. He's always going to be grinding. And Francis Marshall is a talented kid, but he's early in his career, and I do think Francis is going to win this fight. But I'm not going to hitch my wagon to a guy that might end up standing toe-to-toe with somebody like Rojo, who doesn't care if he's in a firefight. So Francis Marshall probably wins this fight. He's going to need the wrestling, because if he's just going to go strike for strike and just try to slug it out on his feet, he could end up in some trouble, because somebody like Rojo, you're not just going to get out of there very quickly. Francis Marshall's absolutely the pick. He could even potentially win by submission or stoppage. I'm just going to be watching. You guys don't need to bet on or parlay every single fight. Just watch this one, let it go. UFC newcomer, tons of talent, but taking on a legit gritty, I guess he's a vet at this point, but a gritty guy is just red flags for me. Then we got Natan Levy taking on Genaro Valdez. Natan Levy's a very good grappler, and he grapples every opportunity he can get. He's not wasting any time on his feet. He's immediately looking for trip-style takedowns. If you throw kicks, he's going to catch them, and then he's going to go from there. He's very good on the ground, but he almost gets too excited and sometimes ends up losing positions. And that's just from lack of high-level experience, and that's going to come with time. He's coming off that win over Mike Breeden, where he was a little hittable, but he won with 9 takedowns and relentless pressure. And that 9 takedowns speaks to he's not holding the positions. He's chasing. He's trying to look for submissions, and then he gives up the position, stands back up, has to start that cycle over. Genaro Valdez is an incredibly well-rounded fighter. He's primarily a grappler, but he also has absolutely no issues getting into a slugfest. His striking can be wild, but it's fun, and he uses it really well to set up takedowns. He's 1-1 in the UFC, though. His Contender Series win was impressive with 4 takedowns in less than 6 minutes, and his last fight was an early KO loss to Matt Frivola, and that loss is holding up a little bit better than it did back in January. Natan Levy's 2-1 favorite here, and I feel like that's probably pretty appropriate. Like, he didn't look perfect in his last fight, but he did show improvements and just grit that we hadn't seen from him before. Genaro Valdez can strike and grapple, and he can be a problem for Natan if he pushes the grappling early like Rafa Garcia did. But I think Natan's pace is going to be too much. And while it may be a nail biter, I think ultimately he's going to get the win. You know, this fight is this weekend. When it drops on Tuesday, the prop bets drop on Tuesday, I'm going to be looking for the takedown prop bets. We'll see what those are. If you don't know what those are, Bet Online offers takedown prop bets. So they'll say, who's going to get more takedowns in this fight? And then they'll throw a line on it. Or they'll say, Natan Levy, 2 takedowns, over or under. We've been cashing those bets like absolute crazy. Those have almost been a sure thing in every single week. We're just cleaning up with those. So keep an eye out for those. They will drop on Tuesdays most likely, sometimes Wednesdays. If you are a premium member, you will be alerted the second that those drop and that we place bets on them. So go on over, become a premium member at WeWantPicks.com. Click Become a Member. It's only $10. We're just handing out units of profit every single week. This one, I'm liking Natan. We're going to see what those takedown prop bets are, but I'm probably going to hit one of those as well. Then we have one of the more interesting fights on the card. We got Tracy Cortez taking on Amanda Ribas. Tracy Cortez is a fantastic wrestler, and historically her striking was just okay, but your stats are deceiving. Because if you look at the stats, you say, wow, she's landing almost 4 significant strikes per minute, being hit with just a little over 2. That's pretty impressive, but keep in mind, she's also averaging 3 takedowns per fight. So that means she's spending the majority of the fight on top in control. So the fact that she's still hit with almost 3 significant strikes per minute means that when she is actually striking, meaning she's not on the ground in control, she's not doing that well, because on the ground, she's only landing and not getting hit. So these stats can be deceiving when you see wrestlers with strike differentials, but the reality is she is a good wrestler, a very good wrestler. She's always going to be looking to get it to the ground. She's coming off that 29-28 win over Melissa Gatto, where she only had 2 takedowns, but she had more total strikes and more control time. Amanda Ribas is a pretty well-rounded fighter. She started her career as a grappler, but she's added in striking. She's comfortable everywhere. Her striking stats are fantastic. She's got that same sort of 4-2 striking differential, but she's also got some solid wrestling. She has takedowns in every single UFC fight and an impressive 88% takedown defense. She's coming off that controversial loss to Katlyn Chookagian, where she had more strikes, 3 takedowns, and a full round of control time. A lot of people think she got screwed in that decision. I'm going to go with Tracy Cortez here, right? I think the odds are pretty solid. Amanda's a small favorite. The line is bouncing back and forth with Tracy favorite, and then money comes in. But I think Amanda being the small favorite makes sense because she is the more well-rounded fighter. With that being said, I do think the non-stop wrestling pace of Tracy is what's going to get her the win. Amanda's takedown defense has held up so far, but defending takedowns from Verna Jandiroba is a little different than defending them from Tracy Cortez. If you're a premium member, you see that I have 1.5 unit bet on Tracy Cortez money line. I'll tell you right now, it was a mistake. Meaning I placed a 1 unit bet, comfortable with that. Then I'm doing a little more research. I'm getting back at it a week later. I forget how much long. And then I was like, yeah, let me throw a bet on there. So then I threw another 0.5 unit, not remembering I already had the 1. So it's going to say 1.5 units. I'm confident. Just look at that as a 1 unit bet. I'm not 1.5 units confident. I shouldn't have done the extra 0.5 unit. Again, I forgot I had the first unit. Anyway, it's a 1.5 unit bet, but I don't want you to see that and be like, wow, he's pretty confident. I think Tracy gets it done. I think the wrestling is the difference. The size of my bet is a little bit misleading, and it was an accident on my part, but it's all full transparency here. So 1.5 up there for all of you to tail, and premium members, there's your context. Then we got Darren the Damage Elkins taking on Jonathan Pearce. And Darren Elkins, he's a tough guy. He's absolutely never out of a fight. He's always live for a finish, and he's sort of the definition of a grinder. He's coming forward. He's got heavy strikes. He uses them to close the distance, cut off the cage, and then he'll work in some takedowns. He is a pretty good wrestler with incredible top pressure. He's coming off that win over Tristan Connolly, where he worked in 5 takedowns and 8 minutes of control time for the win. Jonathan Pearce is also a pretty solid wrestler. He sets a nice pace both on his feet and on the ground. He's got decent takedowns and good BJJ. He's averaging almost 7 takedowns per fight with 5 takedowns against Kai Kamaka, 6 against Omar Morales, and 6 against Christian Rodriguez. As soon as he gets the takedowns, he's looking to strike, and he's typically looking for a TKO instead of a submission. In 17 fights, he has only been to a decision 2 times, and he just leaves it all out there. And it's obvious when you see his pace. He's a really fun guy to watch, and he has a take one to give one striking style. He's coming off that win over Makwan Amirkhani, where he had 4 takedowns and the eventual knockout. And Jonathan Pearce is a good-sized favorite in this fight, and I think he should be. He's got good hands, great grappling. He's a pretty durable guy. The one thing that concerns me here, though, is while he took down Makwan Amirkhani 4 times, he was taken down 3 times. And Darren Elkins is going to be looking for takedowns here. Pearce is going to be the pick. He's got the power in his hands. He's got the grappling, but I'm going to need him to grapple first and not wait for Elkins. Because if he's waiting, then Darren Elkins could be getting the takedowns. Darren Elkins could be doing the control, and Darren Elkins could be the one winning the decision. So Jonathan Pearce is the pick. I trust him to wrestle early. I trust him to throw heavy hands. And really, the damage is the nickname, but the last couple of years, it's become the damage that he's been taking instead of giving. And I'm just hoping Jonathan Pearce is going to continue that trend, coming forward, pounding away, grinding out these wins. Then we have the very experienced Michael Johnson taking on Marc Diakiese. Michael Johnson is just a tried and true vet at this point. He's had an incredibly tough competition slate, and it's easy to look at, oh, wow, he's got 18 losses and just assume he's not good or he's, sort of always been a journeyman. But if you take a closer look, his losses are to Beneil Dariush, Nate Diaz, Khabib, Justin Gaethje. Most recently, it was just a very short notice split decision to Jamie Mullarkey. So Michael Johnson's a little better than his record is telling you. Skill-wise, he's pretty good everywhere. He's a talented striker. He doesn't really have a ton of power, but he's got good footwork, a positive striking differential, and around a half of a strike, which is solid considering the level of competition that he's been fighting for as long as he's been fighting them. So Michael Johnson, very well-rounded guy that can get it done, still at a high level. Marc Diakiese is a very good kickboxer who has become somewhat of a wrestler. Striking-wise, he's got a ton of power, and he sets everything up with leg kicks and body shots. He's a guy who likes to invest early for the payoff in later rounds. Wrestling-wise, he's worked in 19 takedowns in his last 2 fights, with 26 minutes of control time. He's getting booed by the crowds, but hey, that's what he's doing, and that's what he's got to do to get it done. And now he's just become a more dangerous fighter because he's not just a kickboxer anymore. Now he's a lay-and-play threat as well. And it's always just hard to dismiss a veteran like Michael Johnson. He's 1-4 in his last 5. But again, he's fought the best in the division for 12 years in the UFC. He has wins over Edson Barbosa, Dustin Poirier. His losses are mostly relatively close. This isn't like a Frankie Edgar sort of aging out with a bad chin situation. I do think Michael can be very competitive in this fight. I don't think he's going to be winning this fight, though. I do think Marc's forward pressure, the volume, now the takedown threat, I think he's going to get this win, but I think it's going to be a decision. So I like Marc Diakiese to get the win. He's probably going to work in some takedowns, get some grinding in there, but this is not going to be a cakewalk, and I don't think he's going to get a stoppage here. So we'll see when prop bets drop what that looks like. But Marc Diakiese's definitely the pick here, but, hoping Michael Johnson has a competitive outing because I don't want to see him necessarily retire or cut on the streak that he's on now. Then we got another tried and true vet. We got Clay Guida taking on Scott Hot Sauce Holtzman. Clay Guida is an absolute legend, and even at 41 years old with 49 fights, he can still hang out there. He's definitely starting to slow down a bit, but even a slow Clay Guida is a high-paced guy with great cardio, relentless wrestling, and solid striking. He makes up for whatever technical gaps he may have just with volume and pace. He's coming off that loss to Claudio Puelles where he was only able to land 3 strikes before he was knee-barred, and anybody who only saw Claudio's last fight against Dan Hooker, you just remember him as the butt-scooting weirdo that refused to fight. But he is very, very dangerous, and Clay Guida effed around and found out with a knee bar. Scott Holtzman is a busy striker who doesn't have that one-punch knockout power, but he can get stoppages just with volume, pace, and pressure. He averages more than 2 takedowns per fight, but that was earlier in his UFC career. He's got 18 takedowns in his first 6 UFC fights, but only 3 in his next 6. A Scott Holtzman who strikes and threatens takedowns is a very dangerous guy, but if he's only striking, he can give up his own takedowns and then be ridden out. He's coming off back-to-back knockout losses over Gamrot and Dariush, but he took a year off. He, did what he was supposed to do, letting his brain heal up, letting his body heal up, and then coming back out at, against an older, less dangerous fighter. And this is an interesting fight, though, because Clay Guida is live to grind out any fighter. He can show up with the pace, coming forward, nonstop, relentless. And we've seen Scott Holtzman get taken down and ridden out in the past. Nick Lentz was able to take him down 5 times and rack up 7 minutes of control time. If Clay Guida comes in here and he starts grappling, he can catch Holtzman off guard and sort of snatch that win. I just don't think that's going to happen. I think Scott is going to be a step ahead in the striking, and even if he doesn't offensively wrestle, he should be able to dominate the striking and hopefully defend any of the Clay Guida takedown attempts. Clay's not a dangerous fighter. He's a grinder. He'll wear on you, but he's not just going to knock you out with one punch. He's not just going to snatch up a submission out of nowhere. He's going to come forward, throw hands, grab legs, throw hands, grab legs, and he's just going to do that over and over and over. So Scott's going to have time to sort of pick the shots, get a pace going, settle into a rhythm. So this should be a really fun fight. Scott Holtzman is absolutely the pick. But I think we all love Clay Guida, right? We're all going to be rooting for him here. Then we have Angela Hill taking on Emily Ducote. Angela Hill is a pretty high IQ fighter who is good on her feet. She's fast. She's got lots of versatility, good volume, but she's got no power. She's a talented fighter who's sort of become the gatekeeper of this division, the measuring stick of the weight class. She's good everywhere, but she's also not a threat like Clay Guida, who we just broke down. Her path to victory in this and every other fight is stick and move. Avoid the power. Avoid the takedowns. Just throw stuff out there, dance around, stay busy, and use that cardio. She is coming off that shocking upset win over Lupita Godinez, where she went 1 for 6 in takedowns, and she landed fewer total and significant strikes, but she did get that win in a fight that me and a lot of other people thought she was just going to get absolutely smoked in. Emily Ducote is a former Invicta champion who stepped up on short notice in her UFC debut. Style-wise, she's a slick counter-striker with legitimate power for this division and very good wrestling. She's durable and accurate. What she does well is throw straight punches that come right down the middle. So if you want to play an outside game or start looking for looping shots, thinking you're going to put some sting on there, Ducote's going to just throw right up the middle, tag you, and then move back out. She's coming off that win over Jessica Panay where she doubled her strikes. And again, that was on short notice. Angela Hill is tricky because you don't know what you're going to get. Like, she went out there and just stuck up the joint against Verna Jandiroba, but then she came out and beat Loopy. And typically she's going to use her range, dance around, rack up points. I don't think that's going to work here. I think Emily's too active, too accurate. Her punches are too straight. And I think, you know, Angela's length isn't going to help her out here. Emily's going to get right past that. And Emily's going to win this fight. I think she's going to cruise to a decision win. Again, I'm not a big, anybody who's watching here, you see that we're up units, short term and long term. The last 3 weeks have been insanely profitable for you guys. And then long term over the year, we're up as well. And it's because I bet conservatively. I'm not chasing plus 1,200. I'm usually doing money lines, very small parlays, the safety net prop bets. In this case, I may just go Emily Ducote by decision. I don't normally do that. I don't normally do the very specific props because those are the ones that miss. I'd rather get worse odds and just money line it. But we'll see when they drop on Tuesday. If you want to be alerted the minute that those props drop and that we've got some bets on them, become a premium member. Go to WeWantPicks.com. There's a button at the top that says become a member. It's only $10 a month. It's $2.50 a week. I've given you 38 units of net profit over the last 3 weeks. That covers a long reign of premium membership. So sign up. Once you sign up, you can link your Discord, and then you will get alerts to your phone, alerts to your computer, just letting you know, oh, we just placed this bet, we just placed that bet. So you can go ahead and follow along there. WeWantPicks.com. Then we've got Niko Price. This guy's fun as hell, and he's taking on Philip Rowe, who has been pretty exciting himself lately. Niko Price is an incredibly fun fighter. He's just willing to put himself in harm's way for us, the fans. He's got solid striking, good submissions. He has a knockout KO off of his back. I think he has 2 of those, actually, and those are just going to be highlight reels forever. The dude was on his back and got the knockout win. He's a blast to watch, and he could beat anybody on any day with just sheer determination, will, and wildness. He's got decent striking, decent grappling. He is coming off the, year off, and he had that win over Alex Oliveira, but, a little spotty, but he did take a year away. I don't know why. I don't know what prompted that. I don't know if it was injuries. I don't know if, just life got in the way or what. But he's had a year off. He probably needed it. He's a pretty active guy that takes a lot of damage in his fights, and you can see that with his negative striking differential. Philip Rowe is a long guy with high volume and a solid striker. He does a great job using that length and range. His ground game is fantastic, but his wrestling could definitely use some work. And despite managing range well, he can be hittable with almost 4 significant strikes per minute. He's coming off that win over Jason Witt where he was getting dominated, right? He was getting taken down, getting controlled. And then he found that knockout in the second round, which really speaks to the fact that he doesn't get frustrated. He doesn't quit on himself because, he was definitely on the path to giving up 11, 12 minutes of control time in that fight. Philip Rowe is going to lose to any decent wrestler with a chin. He's going to. But that's not Niko. Niko does have 6 takedowns in the UFC. He's got 14 fights and a 22% takedown accuracy. If I could trust Niko to pressure forward, stick to the wrestling, he'd be the pick. But he does get caught up in just having a good time and just laying it out there for the fans. Not to mention he does live in Cape Coral, Florida. They were hit with the hurricane. I don't know how bad it was for him. A lot of people lost a lot of stuff, and this is pretty recent. We're talking in the last month or two, right when he should be in training camp. So I don't know what that did for him. I don't know what his life looks like now. He's a year removed from his last fight. There's a lot going on there. Philip Rowe is going to be the pick. He's dangerous. He's got good hands. Takedown defense, not great, but Niko's takedown offense isn't great as well. So Philip Rowe is going to be the pick. I'm probably not going to bet on this fight because somebody like Niko is fun, is dangerous, and can just come out there and just look amazing, or come out there, get into a slugfest, and get caught. So Philip Rowe is going to be the pick here, but I promise you, next time he's matched up with a decent wrestler who has an okay chin, full fade, going the other side. You got Eryk Anders taking on Kyle Daukaus. Eryk Anders is a wrestler with pretty good striking. He mixes his punches and kicks really well together, and he's got okay speed. He does keep his hands a little too low, which has gotten him in trouble in the past. His path to victory in most fights is going to be his wrestling. I'm saying wrestling and not grappling because he's not really looking for submissions. There's not much jiu-jitsu in there. He's getting the takedown, and then he's just beating you up from there. And what he does really well is he tries to hurt you everywhere. In every exchange, every strike, everything he's doing is trying to put you out. He is coming off the loss to Jun Young Park, where a lot of people think he was robbed. Go back and watch that fight. Don't just look at Tapology and say, oh, well, he's coming off a loss. Kyle Daukaus is an okay striker with pretty solid grappling and solid clinch work. His boxing is decent. It's not great. His boxing is decent, but he does have the grappling to make up for it and decent clinch work. He is primarily a grappler. He only has a 31% takedown accuracy, but an impressive 86% takedown defense. He does have a positive striking differential of around 3 to 2.5, but he was just put out by Roman Dolidze in June. I'm not a huge Kyle Daukaus guy. I'm not a fan of Kyle Daukaus. I hate his style, but I do understand why he's the favorite in this fight. His chin is suspect. His striking is mediocre. He can't control the grappling because he doesn't really have the wrestling, but this guy can snatch up something out of nowhere, and he has proven that, you know, he's a relatively tough guy. Didn't look it in his last fight, but he's a relatively tough guy. I am going to go Eryk Anders, though. I think he's going to come in here, just bully the hell out of Kyle Daukaus. He's going to big brother him. I think he's going to hit harder. I think he's going to have way better wrestling. He should be able to avoid the submissions. As Jacob would say, Kyle is a jiu-jitsu nerd, and I just can't back a jiu-jitsu nerd in a fight against somebody like Eryk Anders, who can control the wrestling, who can take your head off with strikes. So Eryk Anders is the pick, solid underdog, probably one of the best underdogs on this card. Then we have the Roman Dolidze Jack Hermansson fight. This was supposed to be Derek Brunson. He's out. Roman Dolidze stepping in on short notice. He just fought a few weeks ago, maybe a month ago at this point. This is a very interesting matchup. This is a very interesting matchup. UFC 282 is losing fights, and we're gaining them at UFC Orlando. Roman Dolidze is a world champion grappler. He can showcase those skills like he did last month against Phil Haas. But despite his grappling credentials, he has no problem marching forward and throwing bombs. He can get stuck into a striking match, but he's got such real power that he is not really worried about being in a striking match. He put out Kyle Daukaus in June. He just lit him up in the clinch and then put him away. Dolidze is a very well-rounded fighter. He's definitely streaking right now. That Phil Haas win a month ago was especially impressive because he was taken down, but okay, Phil Haas, D1, was he a national champion or at least an All-American? Fine, he was taken down. The second he was taken down, just hammering elbows to the head off his back, then transitioned to a knee bar. He blew out Phil Haas's knee. Phil Haas was able to stand up, and then Roman Dolidze knocked him out. I mean, Roman Dolidze is just looking fantastic. Jack Hermansson is also a great grappler. If he takes you down, he can be pretty dominant from there. His striking is solid, and while he's not going to be knocking anybody out, he has showed dramatic improvements in the striking department. What I like about Jack is that he's going to stick to his game plan, right? He's just going to come out there. He knows what he's good at, and he's going to try to do it. The problem for him, though, is his game plan is get it to the ground. He only has a 27% takedown accuracy. He is coming off that win over Chris Curtis that impressed a lot of people because he went 0 for 6 on takedown attempts, but he managed to be the better striker. He outstruck Chris 100-43, which is not what people were expecting to happen in that fight. And it's an interesting matchup because Hermansson may have the better takedowns, right, skill-wise, even though they're not very good. That's where it ends, though. Roman's going to have more power. He's going to be the better overall grappler. You might want to argue that Jack Hermansson is the better striker, but I don't think so. I think Roman Dolidze is because he's got the power. He's got the threat. He will come forward. And, Jack Hermansson, yes, it's tight, but it's just powerless, and there's just nothing there other than sheer volume. Roman Dolidze is a world champion grappler, and that's an important distinction to make because Jack Hermansson's a very good grappler, but he's an MMA grappler. He's not a world champion BJJ guy. He's not throwing up that knee bar like we saw Roman do against Phil Hawes. He's very dangerous. He can catch people. Go back and watch a lot of his very quick first round. He got that heel hook over Kevin Gastelum. I think it was a heel hook. He's a dangerous guy, but he's not Roman Dolidze dangerous. And it doesn't matter how dangerous he is. He's not going to catch Roman Dolidze in a submission. This guy is a world champion grappler. He's not just going to get caught in a wild, heel hook exchange. So I like Roman Dolidze here. I got him at plus money. I have a money line bet on him. Premium members, you saw that bet the second I placed it. Everybody else, I don't know what those odds are now, but I think he's going to end up being the favorite come fight night. You know how these things go. There's a big line movement the minute the lines drop, a decent line movement on the Sunday before fights, and then incredible line movement on that on that Friday, Saturday of the fight. So go ahead, get in there. I love Roman Dolidze here. I got that money line bet on him. Obviously, short notice is always risky, but we've seen him step up on short notice in the past and get it done. Then we have a really fun fight. We got Tai Tuivasa taking on Sergey Pavlovich. Tai Tuivasa is a heavy-handed striker. He's got solid volume. He mixes in kicks really well. He has been fast and powerful for his size, but he's cleaned that up. He's not just powerful heavyweight striker anymore. Now he's starting to get a little sharper. He's a little more composed. He's finding his shots a little better as well. Tuivasa's, we all love him, right? He's got those fantastic leg kicks. He's got a piercing jab, big overhand. His takedown defense is just okay at 52%. He's got no offensive takedowns whatsoever, but I don't think any of that matters here. You could argue that his biggest asset is his chin. He's got that cement head. He can take some real heavy shots. We've seen some cracks recently, but still, his chin is there and it's holding up. He's coming off that loss to Cyril Gane, where frankly, he was like a half a second away from winning that fight. He had Cyril on ice skates in that fight. And, honestly, I think Tai Tuivasa did a lot better in that fight than a lot of people think he was going to. Sergey Pavlovich is a fantastic striker. He's mostly a boxer, but he's got great power in his hands and incredible speed for heavyweight. His striking volume is impressive, and he trusts his chin enough to stand in the pocket and just bomb away. But trusting his chin could be a problem in this matchup. His speed will keep him one step ahead most likely, but Tuivasa has 0 takedowns in the UFC. Sergey Pavlovich has 0 takedowns in the UFC. These guys are going to go at it. They're going to throw heavy. Sergey's coming off that first-round knockout over Derek Lewis. And I'm loving the dogs on this main card. Sergey's obviously a very dangerous guy, but Tai has that same power, but he's got better leg kicks and I think a better chin. So I like Tai to do what he does, which is come forward, throw heavy, and then just blast beer out of some dirty-ass shoe in the audience. And obviously, these are heavyweights and anything can happen. So I'm not going to bet either side of this fight because anything can happen. These are heavyweights. What I will do, though, is throw all of my money at Monkey Knife Fight Knockout Kings. If you don't know what that is, that's basically, it's daily fantasy, and then they have a prop game called Knockout Kings. And in that game, you can pick any 3 fighters on a fight card, and if one of them wins by KO or TKO, you get paid. 2 of them wins, you get paid even more. You can double up fights, so throw both of them in there. One of these guys is getting knocked out. This is not going to a decision. One of these guys is getting knocked out, so it's going to cash. Go to WeWantPicks.com/MKF. Sign up. They'll instantly match your deposit. So if you give them 50 bucks, they'll give you 50. You give them 100, they'll give you 100. Make your deposit. Take all of your money, all of it, including the free money. Throw it on Knockout Kings, and then you'll have even more free money. That's at WeWantPicks.com/MKF. Tai Tuivasa is the pick, though. I think he gets it done. He's got the chin. He's got the kicks. I think he's going to get it done. That takes us to Mateusz Nikolai taking on Matt Schnell. Mateusz Nikolai is a good, clean striker who's technical, but he's not really comfortable, meaning he can be robotic at times, and his striking doesn't flow as nicely as you would expect it to, but he is very technical. He's also a very competent grappler as well, with 9 takedowns and 6 UFC wins. When he gets you to the ground, he's going to stick with control and work towards a submission when it presents itself instead of chasing something that isn't there. He's coming off the decision win over David Dvorak, where he was able to showcase that power. Matt Schnell is a very good counter striker with solid BJJ. He does an amazing job of letting you follow him in those striking exchanges, and then he plants his feet, fires back with combinations. And he loves doing this off leg kicks as well. He's going to end exchanges with leg kicks, back up, you'll follow him, and then just reset that whole cycle. His BJJ is slick, and he can snatch things up in scrambles as well. But while he can be slick on the ground, he does struggle to get it there with a low 44% takedown accuracy. He's coming off that insane come-from-behind win over Sudamerji, where he was basically dead. Dead. Just lying there dead. They had the ambulance. People were ready to get him, scrape him off the mat, and then he just rose like the Undertaker and then ended up getting the knockout. It was actually insane what this guy did in that fight. And this is going to be a fun fight, right? Nikolai, he can be stiff striking, but his technique is clean, and now we know he has power. Matt Schnell has proven to be impossible to get out of there, and while his takedowns aren't the best, his submissions are very good, and Nikolai will likely end up getting it to the ground. So overall, I think Nikolai's the better fighter, but this is the type of matchup where the tougher fighter, who is Schnell, could end up winning. So I'm going to go with Nikolai here because, I can't just assume Matt Schnell's going to rise from the dead in every single fight. So I'm going with the overall more well-rounded fighter that is Mateusz Nikolai here. So he's going to be the pick. We'll see what prop bets look like when those drop on Tuesday, and we'll go ahead, see if we can find some spots there. And that takes us to the co-main event of the evening. We have Rafael dos Anjos taking on Bryan Barberena. Rafael dos Anjos is the former lightweight champion of the world. He's incredibly well-rounded, but he is a grappler at heart. He's developed clean striking with some solid volume that's going to go ahead and trick people into thinking that he's going to strike with them before he just starts diving at legs and working that grappling. It's easy to say he's 2-3 in his last 5, but if you look at who he lost to, they're pretty solid. Leon Edwards, current welterweight champion. Michael Chiesa, welterweight. And Rafael Fiziev, who's just been absolutely brutalizing everybody. So, Rafael dos Anjos a lot better than his recent record. And even in that Fiziev fight, he was able to take Fiziev down twice and rack up 6 minutes of control time, which is very impressive considering Fiziev's takedown defense. Bryan Barberena is a fun brawler. He likes to come forward. He's got a good gas tank, and he's a busy striker. He's not very technical. I hate to say that, but he's not very technical, but he is technical enough, and he's got enough gas and enough pressure to just cover up the technical holes and come forward and make stuff happen. He's got decent wrestling and grappling, but he just almost never uses it. A few years ago, his chin was absolutely amazing, but it's starting to fade because he's been into so many entertaining wars. What makes him so fun, though, is his entire game plan is get hit, come forward, and then hit his opponent. He is coming off that very impressive knockout win over Robbie Lawler. And picking these fights with these aging vets is always tricky because RDA is absolutely the better fighter everywhere. I think he's the more technical striker. He's definitely the much better grappler. He definitely has higher fight IQ, higher level of competition. He's literally going to be better everywhere, but he's 38. And he's only had 2 fights in 2 years, and he's coming off his first knockout loss since 2016. The only thing keeping me on RDA here is that while Bryan Barberena is tough and fun, he's got a 44% takedown defense. And outside of his last fight against Robbie Lawler, we haven't really seen one-punch knockout power from him. So RDA is going to be the pick. I trust him to grapple early. I trust him to grapple often. And I think he's just going to grind out another RDA-style win. But certainly he's old, and we're going to be hoping that his chin holds up. And then we got the main event. We got Wonder Boy Thompson taking on Kevin Holland. And what I love about this fight is finally they're both getting strikers. Poor Stephen Thompson has been matched up with grapplers recently. Kevin Holland's been matched up with grapplers recently. So we're going to get to see these two guys do what they want to do, which is strike. And Stephen Thompson's going to be one of my favorite fighters. He's got a karate style striking that works really well for him. He's got low hands, a wide base, and he bounces in and out. He comes in, he cracks you, and then he's gone. And he's not a real powerful guy, but his footwork and movement are very impressive and can catch people off guard. He has wins over George Masvidal, Johnny Hendricks, Vicente Luque, and he is coming off 2 losses, but they're heavy grappling losses where he was taken down by Bilal and Gilbert Burns. Kevin Holland is an accurate and powerful striker who has miserable takedown defense, but solid grappling if he ends up on the ground. Other than his wrestling, he's a killer. He's a sniper. On his feet, he's got great accuracy, solid range. He can grapple well and be a problem on the ground with his length, but just because it's insanely easy to take him down doesn't necessarily mean that you're going to be safe there, right? Tim Means took him down twice, but was submitted in the second round. He's coming off the loss to Khamzat Chimaev, where if you remember, though, that was short notice mix-up. That's not who he was supposed to fight. He thought he was fighting a striker. Then at the last minute got Khamzat, and then he was just mauled on the ground. And I'm glad Kevin Holland came out of retirement for this fight. We're finally going to see these guys, again, fight strikers and not be stuck in a grappling exchange with a bunch of grapplers. And it's a tough fight to pick because I think Wonder Boy is the better overall striker. I think he's the more technical striker. I think his footwork is incredible, but he's also 39. Kevin Holland has some actual power, some real good accuracy, but we haven't seen him fight a technical striker like Thompson. I'm going to go with Wonder Boy here. I think his age is 100% going to worry me. I'm going to wait for prop bets to see because even at money line, I'm not getting a discount that I would hoping to be get. I'm not getting the discount that I would want to be getting for a money line, right? Stephen Thompson's 39. I was hoping he'd be a good size underdog so I can get solid plus money, but this is basically a pick 'em. So I'm not going to money line somebody like a 39-year-old Stephen Thompson or Kevin Holland, who could be completely outstruck in this matchup. We're going to wait for the props. We're going to see what happens. Maybe in Kevin Holland inside the distance decision, no action, because Kevin Holland is a dangerous guy. He's younger. His chin's going to hold up. And he's either going to win inside the distance or lose a decision. And either way, that bet works for me. BetOnline is our only partner that offers that bet. So if you want that, go to WeWantPicks.com/bets. If you sign up, make a deposit. We'll send you $50. But Wonder Boy's going to be the pick here. I'm very much looking forward to this fight. But Kevin Holland is probably where the bet is going to go, that inside the distance decision, no action. Don't forget, we're giving away $1,000. And all you need to do is be a subscriber and comment. That's it. So check the links in the description. You need to subscribe to this channel, We Want Picks, and our other channel, Picks Nation, and just comment on the giveaway video. And as soon as we hit 10,000 subscribers, as long as it's before January 1st, we're going to give you that money. We're going to pick somebody at random and give away that money. But here's how you don't get paid. A, we don't hit 10,000 subscribers. There's no giveaway. Or B, you're the idiot that only subscribes to We Want Picks and not Picks Nation. So subscribe to both. Tell your friends. We'll go ahead and give away this money. I'm very, very confident that we'll get to that 10,000 mark before January 1st. Become a premium member. The streak that we're on right now is absolutely incredible. It will end eventually. Nobody wins forever, but it doesn't matter because when it ends, we're so far up. It would be, I don't even think we're going to bet enough units to go upside down between now and the end of the year. Become a premium member, ride that wave, get the picks, get the bets, get the DraftKings optimizer, the prop games, get all of that for only $10 a month. WeWantPicks.com at the top, click, become a member. And if you want $50 to get your holiday season going, go to WeWantPicks.com/bets. Sign up with any one of our betting partners using our link, make a deposit. We'll send you $50 as a thank you.